Have you ever noticed that the loudest person in the room is rarely the strongest? True strength doesn't shout. It doesn't argue. It doesn't need to be seen. It's silent. Silence is misunderstood in our world today. People think it means weakness. They think if you stay quiet, it's because you don't have anything to say, or because you're afraid. But the Stoics knew the truth. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is discipline. Silence is mastery. The strongest people in history, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, they all taught the same lesson. If you want to conquer the world, you must first conquer your tongue and your mind. Because silence is not about doing nothing. It's about controlling yourself when the world is losing control. It's about having the power to act, but choosing restraint. It's about realizing that real strength doesn't always need to speak. It shows itself through action, through calmness, through unshakable presence. And here's the paradox. The more silent you become, the more powerful you are. In this video, you will discover how to find strength in silence. You'll see why noise weakens you, how silence shapes your mind, and how the Stoics used it to master themselves and the world around them. Stay until the end, because once you learn to harness silence, you will never look at yourself or the world the same way again. Welcome to Stoicism Mastermind. Let's begin. The world today is drowning in noise. Not just the sound of traffic, music, and endless chatter, but the deeper noise of opinions, judgments, and demands. Every day the world shouts at you. Do this, be that, buy this, believe that. It never stops. From the moment you wake up, you are bombarded. Notifications, arguments, the endless scroll of opinions. The world demands your reaction. It wants your attention, and if you are not careful, that noise will consume you. The Stoics warned about this centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." He lived in the most powerful empire on earth, surrounded by politics, war, and endless noise. Yet he knew that true freedom came from escaping it. Because here is the truth. Noise weakens you. It scatters your focus. It pulls you away from yourself. Instead of thinking clearly, you become restless. Instead of living with purpose, you react to whatever shouts the loudest. Think about how many times you've lost your peace because of someone else's words. A comment, a criticism, a judgment. The noise of others enters your mind and suddenly you're no longer in control. But silence is the antidote. Silence is not about running away from life. It's about refusing to let the noise of others dictate your mind. When you step back into silence, you reclaim your power. You remember who you are. You begin to live not by reaction, but by choice. The world wants you distracted. The world wants you loud. The world wants you lost in noise. But the Stoic path is different. The Stoic path is learning to be still in a storm, to hear the chaos, but remain untouched by it, to walk through noise, but carry silence within you. And once you master that, the world no longer controls you. Silence is not weakness. It is strength under control. Most people mistake silence for passivity. They think if you don't respond, you're afraid. If you don't speak, you don't matter. But the opposite is true. The person who can remain silent when provoked is far stronger than the one who explodes with words. Anyone can shout, anyone can argue, but it takes discipline to stay calm. It takes wisdom to know when words are wasted. It takes true strength to choose silence. The Stoics understood this. Seneca once wrote, "It is better to conquer our grief than to deceive it." The same is true of anger, fear, or pride. When you stay silent, you are not suppressing your emotions. You are conquering them. Because silence is not emptiness. Silence is clarity. In silence, you see things as they really are. You're no longer reacting to the heat of the moment. You're no longer enslaved by impulse. Instead, you're able to pause, breathe, and respond with reason rather than emotion. Silence is also discipline. It teaches you restraint. When you hold your tongue, you are training your mind to master itself. Every moment you choose silence over noise, you build inner strength, the kind that can't be broken by outside chaos. And silence is power, because when you no longer need to prove yourself with words, your presence begins to speak for you. The strongest people are rarely the loudest. They don't waste their energy in pointless debates. They don't announce every move they make. Their silence commands respect because it comes from self-mastery. Think about it. A calm leader in the middle of a crisis inspires more trust than one who panics and shouts. A silent thinker who observes the world often discovers more than the one who talks endlessly. The person who can hold silence without fear is the one who truly understands power. This is why silence is not an escape. It is preparation. It sharpens the mind. It strengthens the soul. It makes you unshakable, even when the world tries to break you. Noise is easy. Silence is strength. For the Stoics, silence was not just the absence of words. It was the presence of wisdom. Marcus Aurelius ruled the greatest empire in the world. Armies, senators, and entire nations depended on his decisions. He could have filled the air with endless commands, speeches, and declarations. Yet, when you read his meditations, you notice something. His wisdom came not from talking, but from reflecting in silence. He wrote not for the world, but for himself. His journal, never meant to be published, is a conversation with his own mind. Page after page of silent thoughts, never spoken aloud, yet powerful enough to survive for nearly 2,000 years. That is the power of silence. Words born in solitude that outlive the noise of entire civilizations. Seneca, another Stoic, often warned about the danger of excessive talk. He said that the more time we spend in gossip and chatter, the less time we spend in real growth. For him, silence was a discipline, a way to train the mind, to save energy, to focus on what truly matters. And then there was Epictetus, a slave who became one of history's greatest teachers. He taught his students that men are disturbed not by things, but by their judgments of things, and judgments are born in the mind, in silence, before they ever reach the tongue. If you master silence in thought, you master silence in action. The Stoics were not anti-speech. They knew words can inspire, heal, and lead. But they also knew that most words are wasted. Most speech is noise, and silence is the filter that separates what is necessary from what is not. This is why they valued silence as a teacher. It forces you to listen more than you speak. It allows you to observe before reacting. It gives you the chance to understand life instead of rushing to comment on it. Think of Marcus in his tent at night, writing in silence after a day of war. Think of Seneca, reflecting in solitude while the Roman crowd outside roared with chaos. Think of Epictetus, quietly shaping his mind even as he lived in slavery. Their silence was not weakness. It was resistance. It was strength. It was the foundation of their wisdom, and it can be yours too, if you learn, as they did, that silence is not an empty pause. It is the discipline that shapes great minds. The Stoics didn't have neuroscience, brain scans, or psychology journals, but they understood something we are only now beginning to prove with science. Silence changes the mind. Modern research shows that silence literally rewires the brain. When you spend time in quiet reflection, your brain doesn't shut down, it awakens. Studies reveal that silence stimulates growth in the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory, learning, and emotional regulation. In other words, silence strengthens the very faculties that help you think clearly and live wisely. On the other hand, constant noise has the opposite effect. Scientists have found that prolonged exposure to noise increases stress hormones like cortisol. It raises blood pressure, weakens focus, and makes you restless. The more noise you allow into your life, the more anxious and reactive you become. The Stoics intuited this centuries ago. They warned against idle talk, gossip, and the endless distractions of society. They knew that a noisy life leads to a noisy mind, one that can never be still, never be free. Silence, however, calms the nervous system. When you pause and withdraw from external noise, your body shifts into a state of recovery. Your heart rate lowers, your breathing deepens, your thoughts begin to slow down. This is not weakness, it's renewal. Silence also sharpens perception. When you're no longer drowning in words, you begin to notice details you missed before. You hear the subtleties in someone's voice. You see the emotions behind their eyes. You sense opportunities and dangers before they're spoken aloud. Silence trains awareness, the same way the Stoics trained themselves to observe life without being controlled by it. And perhaps most importantly, silence reveals truth. In the absence of external noise, the inner voice becomes louder. You begin to see what you actually believe, what you actually feel, and what you actually want. Without silence, it's impossible to know yourself. With silence, self-knowledge becomes inevitable. So the Stoics were right. Silence is not just a practice for philosophers. It is a medicine for the soul, confirmed by science. It restores the body, it strengthens the mind. It reconnects you to yourself. Noise is a thief of attention. Silence is the guardian of clarity. And clarity is where real strength begins. Knowing the value of silence is one thing. Living it is another. The world won't hand you silence. You must create it. The Stoics treated silence as a discipline, a daily training of the mind. And you can too. Here are a few practices that will help you master silence. Begin your day in silence. Before the world starts shouting at you, claim the first moments of your morning. No phone, no news, just you and your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius began each day by reminding himself in silence of the challenges he would face and how he would respond with calm strength. Do the same. Practice the pause. When anger rises, when insults are thrown, when pressure mounts, pause. A few seconds of silence can save you from a lifetime of regret. The Stoics taught that it's not events that disturb us, but our judgments. Silence creates the space to judge wisely. Write in solitude. Seneca wrote letters to himself. Marcus wrote meditations no one else was meant to read. Writing is a form of silent reflection, a way of untangling your thoughts and seeing them clearly. Each word on the page quiets the chaos in the mind. Listen more than you speak. Epictetus reminded his students that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Silence is not just for you, it's a gift to others. When you listen deeply without planning your reply, you build trust, respect, and wisdom. Seek quiet spaces. The world will not become less noisy, but you can step away from it. Walk in nature. Sit in your room without distractions. Close your eyes. Create a sanctuary of silence, even if only for a few minutes a day. Each of these practices is simple, but do them consistently, and silence will stop being something you visit. It will become part of who you are. And when silence lives within you, no storm in the world can shake you. In the end, silence is not about withdrawal. It's not about escaping life. It's about mastering it. The noisy world belongs to the restless, but the silent world belongs to the strong. Remember this: the strongest person is not the one who speaks the most, but the one who does not need to. Their silence is not emptiness, it is focus, it is discipline, it is unshakable presence. Noise is everywhere, But strength is rare, and if you want to be strong, you must learn to be silent. So take this with you. Speak less, listen more. React less, reflect more. Escape the noise and build your fortress of silence within. Because when you find strength in silence, you discover a power that cannot be taken from you. This is the way of the Stoics. This is the way of the wise. And if this message resonates with you, join us here at Stoicism Mastermind. Subscribe for more lessons, more reflections, and more strength. Because the world will always be loud, but together we can master the silence.